My name is Jennifer Rossman, and I'm going to be doing a brief presentation on Dr. Gina Green. Dr. Green has a huge impact in the field of behavior analysis. I want to give an overview of her career, briefly discuss some of her work, and I will also give additional resources as she really has some expansive work that is truly so impressive. Dr. Green offers expansive and ongoing contributions to the field of behavior analysis. She is the president of AIBI. She has worked in policymaking and laws for funding for ABA services. She has worked on the BACB with certification standards. She has authored numerous articles, and she's co-edited books. She is truly an impressive individual who has had such an impact on the field. Again, Dr. Green's research is so expansive and varied. She's a true example of all the directions you could potentially go with behavior analysis. Much of her most impactful work, and where she truly began her career, was in the field of EIBI, or Early Intensive Behavior Intervention and Stimulus Control. She took much of what she learned from Sidman's stimulus equivalence framework and used it in her own research with prompting, stimulus control transfer, delay cue prompting, and developing symbol-word relations. She also did a lot of work in EIBI, which she later goes on to really define as far as efficacy and fidelity in the practice. Dr. Green really does have a wealth of research and work in the field of behavior analysis. I read several of her studies and articles. I found thematically many of them detail some methods of stimulus control, including stimulus control transfer, delayed cue responding, stimulus equivalence, and generalization of skills. Much of her research was conducted on learners with ASD and developmental disabilities. While her work expands beyond the exceptional needs population, it was such impressive work that she was awarded an honorary doctorate from Queen's University Belfast. Truly, her work is a special educator or behavioral interventionist's goldmine. I know that's not a technical term, but her work is so applicable and directly relevant to the field. I tried to be very specific in the work of hers I focused on, because she just has such a varied and long list of professional achievements and publications. So, I wanted to explore the work that really earned her that honorary doctorate. And with the population of individuals she began her career working with. So, I focused on dissecting her work in EIBI, stimulus control and relational learning, and I found a few articles where she talks about practices in the field as well. I found 3 articles that are publications of research Green has done on the field. One of the articles, her and a colleague really proved the efficacy of EIBI by performing a 3-year intensive treatment plan on a young child considered at risk for developing autism. Under this treatment, the child was able to perform academically and socially on the same developmental level as her peers, which is really impressive. The second research-based article, Dr. Green and colleagues developed stimulus control techniques to determine the impact stimuli have on acquisition of skills and generalization. In the study, they are really able to determine that the methods used produced inference and not just rote memorization. The third research article I found, Green and colleagues developed a stimulus equivalence method of teaching symbol-dictated word relations to nonverbal learners with ASD. And the other 2 articles, I found publications where Dr. Green speaks on issues within the behavior analyst field. The first one deals with efficacy of EIBI practices. She is essentially responding to critiques of the practice, which is a great article to read just prior to the first study I mentioned on the last slide about the early intervention, as that study was published just a few years after her response to critiques. The second article I found, Dr. Green overviews the exciting advances in stimulus control. Beyond just being an impressive piece of literature, it really helped me to gain a clearer understanding of how stimuli impact learning and how essentially all learning revolves around our ability to discriminate and respond to stimuli. What would I ask Dr. Green? The real question is, what would I not ask Dr. Green if I had the opportunity to sit down and conduct an interview? I actually listened to a podcast interview with her, which I will link on the next slide, where she really dives into a number of professional aspects and talks at length about issues related to behavior analysis. So it was hard for me to come up with questions that had not been asked and answered within that interview. However, I would be really interested in hearing Dr. Green's take on a few key items. First, I'd want to know how she would want to go about implementing behavioral interventions in educational fields, where this knowledge is so important for day-to-day instruction, but also ensure that it's done with fidelity. Much of Dr. Green's more recent work is regarding quality intervention and certification standards, so I would be interested in her take on how to make many ABA principles easily applicable to those not seeking certification. My second question would be just to hear her recall a challenging study. She has so many research studies, both experimental and applied, that she has done. I'd be interested in hearing about one that really stretched her personally and professionally. Third, I'm interested in her take on how some of the new alternative augmentative communication technologies and how they might pertain to some of the work she has done on things such as stimulus equivalency, and just how she thinks these advancements may impact the field going into the future. Last, I would honestly just be really selfish and ask for advice on some challenges I have faced in the classroom. I can think of one student who I used to work with that would become very aggressive as a response to pain. And it was also a very big challenge for myself and those around me to know how to approach some of the aggression. So I would love to know from such a well-versed individual how they would approach the situation. Though I really tried to focus on bodies of work from Dr. Green that demonstrated much of her career framing work in stimulus control on people with ASD and her work in EIBI, I really think it's important to link some of her other work. This page is essentially just if you're interested in exploring some of her other contributions to the field. Of course, she plays such important roles in APBA and ABAI that going through those websites is also very interesting. So, to wrap this up, Dr. Green is a very impactful figure in the world of behavior analysis. She has, and continues, to really shape the field as far as her research and leadership contributions. She is widely published and highly respected as a professional, and I found it very enlightening and informative to be able to research her professional biography.